Welcome to Corridor Conversations. We really thank you for joining us. We're very excited to connect with you this evening. We are going to hear from Capital Corridor Managing Director Rob Padgette, as well as Deputy Director Leo Sanchez, about current service operations, health and safety updates, and some of our current and upcoming projects and improvements that we're doing along our service. This is our first virtual event using Zoom, so please bear with us as we navigate this new area for ourselves, and feel free to drop us any feedback that you may have in the chat. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see.
Priscilla, so can you hear me okay now? Does it sound okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right, great. So thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. We love to talk to our customers and get your feedback. And I think some of you may have met me on the train, and or perhaps Leo or Priscilla. And we obviously are going to be a little bit careful about doing that today. So we wanted to give you a chance to ask us questions, but also just give you a little bit of feedback. So we just have a handful of slides, and really it's just to cover the basics, but we'll be happy to take any more questions that you might have. So
yeah, and that's yeah.
That's, go back one slide. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. You want to cover this slide, Priscilla? And just
yeah. Just a little bit of housekeeping for today's event. All participant cameras will be turned off. Excuse me. Sorry. Hang on a second.
All right, so I will do the roles. So we're all doing this from our home offices. So Priscilla has a wealth.
Yes, we are all the BBC guy. So if you haven't seen that, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so for today's event, all the participant cameras are turned off, and that's to help with the bandwidth as well as just sort of the overall feeling for the event on camera. Please use the chat feature for questions and let us know a little bit about yourselves. You're welcome to drop questions in there. We will try to cover as many as we can. Some of them may get answered just naturally as part of Rob and Leo's presentations. We do have a few slides that Rob and Leo will go through, and after that, I'll be bringing up your questions to be answered at the end if they haven't been answered in the chat already. So with that, I'm going to hand that off to Rob Padgette, our Managing Director.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. All right, let's go to the next slide. So this is just to give you some sense of what's happened with our since March. So I think all of you remember the first couple weeks in March, and we saw our ridership drop precipitously for the first couple weeks, and really into early April. Some of you may remember, for a short period of time, we went down to just 5 trains a day, 4 of those between Oakland and San Jose, and 5 between Oakland and Sacramento. And then we brought that service back a little, and a lot of that was to support the notion that we really wanted people to restrict travel to really essential travel, and we wanted to support the state's efforts to do that. So we dropped by really 94, 95, 96% over what we had seen the year before. And going into the pandemic, our ridership was, as we've been doing over the last several years, our ridership was up over previous years, and our trains were bursting at the seams in some cases. And so on June 1st, we added a little bit more service to the weekdays. So right now we're running 8 round trips between Sacramento and Oakland, and we're running 5 down to San Jose, and then 5 round trips on weekends. Sorry about that. So you can see our ridership, it went up a little bit in June and July, but we're really leveling off here. So we're running at like 12, 13, 14% of our ridership. So for those of you who are riding, you'll know that there's lots of space. So you can feel pretty safe. And Leo will talk a little bit about that in his safety discussion. Next slide. So for those who are longtime customers and Capitol Corridor fans, we wanted you to look ahead. So these are tough times, but we wanted you to know that we are working hard to improve our service. So we haven't stopped, and it's little stuff and big stuff. So little stuff, if you're a rider at either the Richmond or Martinez stations, you'll note that we have new lighting up since you've last been on the train. And that's LED lighting, so it's highly energy efficient and brighter. We finished up lots of projects on the cars, so we've had more cars parked. So we've been taking advantage of that and catching up on some of the maintenance. So I think some people who are longtime riders know we needed to do that. So we're trying to do that as much as we can. And then we have moved forward on the Wi-Fi project. So I think a lot of you are big fans of the Wi-Fi on the trains. And we are quickly installing the next generation of Wi-Fi. Our old system's about 10 years old. And you're going to notice a pretty huge increase in the speed of Wi-Fi. And that's supposed to be done pretty soon. So we're moving pretty fast on that. So within the next month or so, we will have that on most of our trains. And then lastly, just to mention the big stuff. So we're moving forward. We started our environmental documentation on the South Bay Connect project, which is the project to improve the speeds between Oakland and San Jose, and also better connect our services to an intermodal hub at Ardmore. So that's a step in a longer term effort to improve the quality of service between Oakland and Sacramento, which is outlined in our vision plan. And then also we are moving forward on other projects like the Sacramento to Roseville third track project. And then a smaller project, but an important project near Santa Clara Station to add a siding. We have a long single track territory. We want to give our trains some ability to deal with any kind of delays, and that should help our reliability quite a bit down there. So we're moving on everything. We fully intend to be back 100% on the back end of this, actually better than ever. So our team is busy at work moving forward in a lot of these efforts. Next slide. Next slide, Karen. Are we stuck? There we go. We also did reach out. We wanted to reach out to our customers, both those who are riding today and those who are former riders. And we asked them the question about what types of health and safety precautions you're looking for. And this just is a word mapping exercise where you can see the big stuff. And this is a great way to segue into our discussion about a lot of the safety stuff that we are doing on the train. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leo.
Thanks, Rob. All right, so for those of you that have continued riding with us, first of all, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys riding with us, and we hope to see you soon, especially as things start to ease up again. So a few of the things that you probably have noticed by now is that we did implement several social distancing measures. Number one, we capped our ridership at 55%. There is a full mask requirement for the entire length of the trip. So that's for all patrons, including employees. And then I know a few of you have asked about this question, and cafe service has been suspended and will remain suspended for the time being. We're going to be continuing to look at that, but until the restriction is rolled back from the state, that's something that we'll be closely monitoring. And a couple other things to note is that we do have enhanced cleaning procedures. This includes some mixtures that we have that have are specifically to disinfect surfaces. Some of you might see them as foggers. And then lastly, we did install hand sanitizers on all bottom level of our rail cars. So you'll see those as you come on. So hopefully these are a few different measures that build confidence with all of our passengers, and we continue to keep everyone safe as we continue to move on. Next slide. Hey, Rob, I don't know if you're trying to add something, but you're on mute.
I was just going to add that just to mention that the direction we got from the California Department of Public Health was that that we should not operate the cafe service at this point. So we're following their recommendations on that issue. Please go ahead. Thanks.
Right. Yep. And then, so lastly, on this slide, this is one that's important to all of us here, is that September is Rail Safety Month. And for those of you that see me wearing the red shirt, that's what it's for. It's red. Red is the signify that is the color for Rail Safety Month. And, you know, unfortunately, we do see an extraordinary amount of high trespasser incidents and fatalities along our corridor. So we want to reach out and continue to reach out to via Operation Lifesaver and a few other initiatives that we have in an effort to drive down these incidents and ultimately keep the public safe as they interact with our corridor. Next slide.
And thank you, Leo, for that mention of rail safety. I am wearing red today for Get the Red Out for Operation Lifesaver. I wanted to reiterate what Leo said about rail safety and really helping us with that message, because as our regular riders, you guys know how much the trespasser incidents affect our service. And, you know, they're very tragic, of course. And we want to prevent those as much as we can. So if you can share the tweets that we have out on social media that we retweet from Operation Lifesaver, that would really help us a lot to spread the word about rail safety, you know, to all of our fellow passengers, as well as your colleagues and friends in social circles. That would really help us a lot. Let's see, next slide here, I think. Karen, we have, I think we're losing the last slide there. I think, oh, do we want to go to questions? I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and go to questions now. And let's take a look at some of the questions that we've got. We've got one for Leo here about, can you talk more about filtering and recirculation of air on Capitol Corridor trains?
Sorry, I was on mute and I was starting to answer that question. Thanks, Priscilla. So one of the cool features about rail transit is unlike some other modes of transit, the air is circulated. It is exchanged pretty frequently along our cars, and it's, you know, it varies with temperature, but it's on the range of 15 to 22 times per hour. So that's one thing that as we experience, you know, being aboard our cars, you'll see that much of the air that's coming in is fresh air that's being recirculated through the cars. So it's a nice feature that you'll see.
Okay, so another question has come in about cafe service, asking if, let's see, if the cafe service will come back once COVID is over, you know, if public health conditions change.
Yeah, and I'll take that one, Priscilla. So our intent is to bring everything back. So, you know, all of the service that we are not running now and the cafe service, our goal in the short term, call it the next 6 to 12 months, is to keep our financial situation stable so that we're ready to grow quickly and provide service when we're back. So we will continue to follow the public health guidance regarding the cafe service. And then also just, you know, the financial side is also an important part of that equation, but absolutely fully intend to bring cafe service. That's a huge part of our service. And I know a lot of you value that, as do I. So we absolutely will do that.
Okay, and a follow-up question on the cafe car service is that there are other trains that in the Amtrak network that are operating cafe car service, you know, including the Coast Starlight. So
Yeah.
if you could address that as well.
Yeah, so we originally shut it down for health reasons in Northern California, and that didn't happen everywhere. But we got specific guidance from California Department of Public Health about 2 weeks ago with that directive. And I do know that we are working with Amtrak to make sure that Amtrak is consistent. Because those long distance trains cross interstate lines, it's not as clear cut about authority in the state of California. but because we manage the service, the Capital Corridor service, we are following the guidelines that have been issued by the California Department of Public Health. I do know there's another train in Southern California that has not yet suspended, but the intent is to suspend service soon. And
Yeah, and we know
ahead.
that everyone misses the cafe car, and we know that we want to bring that back to you as part of the experience of Capital Corridor. And people are mentioning it. They miss their Cheerios, they miss their bagels, and their beer, I'm sure. So that's definitely part of our intent to help bring that back. Let's see, another question we have here.
And Priscilla, I just wanted to add to that too, while you're scanning the questions. One of the things that we want is for everybody who's riding to feel comfortable riding. And that means, and that's why we're asking folks to wear masks. It's why we're asking people to space out on the trains. And it's part of why we're not running cafe service. So if you're running cafe service, that means you have to walk up and down the train. And even if maybe you're comfortable doing that, we want everybody to be comfortable. And that's the way we're gonna provide a good service that we know is safe for our customers. So it is an unfortunate thing that we're not able to do that right now, but we think that will make more of our passengers feel comfortable riding. So bring your coffee with you or your Danish with you, and we promise we'll have that happy hour for you on the back end of all of this. I'll be the
Okay. Another question has come in about the new Amtrak Ride Reserve service, and I can answer that one. That one does not apply to Capital Corridor. We are still an unreserved service, and we're watching our ridership very closely to see if if we reach a certain threshold and need to consider doing something different with what with changing the policy of unreserved. But we are currently still unreserved and are not part of the ride reservation system, so that's not required for us. Let's see, another question came in about riding 523 from Sacramento to Richmond, and that it seems very dirty, and if we could please ask the cleaning crew to wipe the surfaces clean and not just mist them.
Yeah,
With a thank
and
you.
I can take that, absolutely, and we'll take it back to the team, and we'll make sure that we address that, because that is part of the cleaning procedure. So thanks for bringing that up.
Looking through some of the other questions.
And Priscilla, I want on the reserve thing. I think we're going to send out because I agree that the notice is a little bit confusing that went out. So I think we're going to send our customers to just clarify.
Yes, and in some of the communications that I had seen, that they were supposed to keep that clear, but sometimes certain things get missed. So we'll work on definitely some tailored messages for our riders so that they know whether or not that applies to them. Someone's asking, can we bring our own food on the train and coffee, etc.? So I think that's still okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's see. Another question is, how is Capital Corridor managing financially during this period, because your revenues must have fallen sharply?
Yeah. So that's correct, and we were fortunate that we received some support through the CARES Act. Congress provided funding for all state-supported services, and that's what the Capital Corridor is defined as. That's an intercity passenger rail service that has received state funds for service, and that capped our costs in this past year, and it actually will provide a little bit of funding that will carry over into the next fiscal year. So what we are doing is we're managing very carefully, working in close partnership with Amtrak to extend our reduced service and manage our budget so that when our ridership starts to grow again, we're ready to take on that service. We normally recover about 60% of our costs through fares, and our fare revenue is down about 85%. So we are bridging that, like so many other transportation agencies. We're bridging that by carefully managing our resources so that we're able to continue operations. And someone asked a question about fiscal year, and I'll just clarify that. So for the, we kind of have 2 fiscal years. We manage, the state fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th, but the Amtrak fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. So for the Amtrak contract and service, we plan that on the federal fiscal year, which starts October 1st. So we were covered by the CARES Act through the end of September. And then beginning October 1st, there's still a little bit of carryover funding that will support us, but less so than we've had at this point.
Okay, Rob, here's another question, and you may have alluded to this earlier, but as someone has asked about what is our ridership like compared to other agencies at this time?
Yeah, I'll answer in a couple ways. Compared to some of the transit agencies around the Bay Area, like you compare us to BART, we've been tracking almost the same in terms of reduction over historical. When you look at passenger rail service across the country, it's varied some. So we're doing better than, say, the Northeast Corridor, which is currently down more than we are. Some of the longer distance services, including the San Joaquin service, which is out in the San Joaquin Valley, is actually a little higher than we are. So what we think we're seeing, just based on the ridership patterns on our service, is we are seeing some leisure travel, and that could be visiting family or whatever that is. And in our commuter type service, which is our trains in the morning and evening, are down quite a bit. So I think a lot of our passengers tend to work in jobs where they can work remotely and are sometimes doing 1 day a week or something, but they're not back full time yet. So those commuter trips tend to be down a little bit more at this point.
Okay, and we've got some other questions here. I'm going to go a little bit out of order, but one is, has Capitol Quarter had to lay off employees as a result of the decline in ridership?
So, we have not laid off oversight employees, but Amtrak did make an announcement just last week that they are reducing the workforce in the country, which includes some employees that support our services. I don't have precise figures on that, but Amtrak is reducing its workforce by, I think, just over 2,000. But if you have any specific questions about that, I'll refer you to Amtrak for any specific questions on that. They did present some information to Congress yesterday on that topic.
And let's see, there's another question here about whether or not they can purchase Capitol Quarter masks or the Cappy plushies, and those will be available on the railgoods.com site. Rail as in trains, rail goods. That's our company store that we opened with BART, and you can find some Cappy socks there as well as some other things. And we'll be stocking more inventory as we go, as those come available. So please look for that.
So do we have masks yet?
They're on order.
Okay.
We're working on the design.
Right.
Let's see, there's also a question about, is there an email update list we can sign up for? Yes, on our website, capitolcorridor.org, you can go there and sign up for our email list. We send out an email about 1 to 2 times per month to let people know about updates for our programs and promotions and other service updates as well. Let's see, other questions here. There's another question here, operations question about transportation. If we would be able to provide transportation to and from the San Francisco ferry terminal or cruise terminal or the Six Flags Discovery Kingdom.
So the San Francisco connection, we have narrowed to support only the stop in front of the Transbay Salesforce Center at this point. So that is a much pared back service, and we are continuing to look at a longer term strategy on that connection. The other, I mean, we're not adding any bus service at this point. We're really trying to target our resources as much as we can. Those are contracted services to private providers, and we did in response to a significant decline in ridership, we did pare back some of the bus services quite a bit.
And let's see. I'm checking to see if there are any other questions coming in.
Hey, Priscilla, I wanted to comment. I was just scanning as some of these are coming through. There was a question about all the delay notifications. And I know I just wanted to comment on that. We changed our strategy, and it wasn't too far. It was just right around the time of the pandemic starting, where we really have tried to push out more information to passengers on delays. And I think what you're seeing there is in part a more aggressive effort to make sure everybody knows what's going on. And we do that now through Twitter and through the email notification system that Priscilla set up years ago. And so our hope is that you then can use that to plan your day. So I think sometimes people perceive it as more messages, but a lot of that is just trying to push out more information to our customers. Our OTPs actually picked up over the last couple months. So we are back at I think the last month we were right at the 90%, which is our target for on-time performance.
And just to add on to that, I mean, in terms of us and communications, there are many ways to reach us or to stay in touch with news about Capital Corridor. One is our website. Of course, there's also Facebook and Twitter, as well as Instagram and such. So there are many ways to keep in touch with us. The service alerts here you see on screen, you can sign up there by visiting capitalcorridor.org/news alerts. That's right there. Also, we're doing a survey right now of our passengers. And what we're asking is, how best do you what is the best way to get train status and service information to you? And which methods you prefer. So please look for that on our social channels. We're sharing it there on all of those channels so that you can participate and we can hear from you as to what works best for you, and you can help rank them for us.
And I'll just add to my comment on the bus service. We talked about this at the last few board meetings, but we are continuing to work with AC Transit. The project's a little bit suspended now because of a lot of the challenges we're facing, but the long-term goal is to work with AC Transit to provide that connection between Emeryville and San Francisco. We are continuing to serve that through the on-street bus stop at this point next to Salesforce. But that hasn't gone. We haven't dropped that idea. That's still very much of interest to us, is to work with AC Transit. There's no reason for us to pay for a private provider if there's a good service that we can coordinate with that provides a similar connection.
Yeah, and someone asked, I think Jill asked if this is a form that we're going to use as our primary way of communicating. This is our first time that we've used Zoom for a virtual conversation with our passengers. So if you like it, let us know, as you have. If others on here like it, please let us know that. Let us know how we can improve. We use this as well as other means to get word out to our passengers, such as the channels I mentioned before. We do hope to have this available on replay, and we'll let you know how that is, I believe, later on. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you if you like this, and that's great. I'm glad that this is working out. Yes, and we miss seeing you on the trains too. We miss doing our rider appreciation events very much.
There was one other comment or question regarding Sac Roseville, and so just so everyone knows, that project is still moving ahead. It is at the 25% design, so we are still working diligently on that project, and we hope to have more updates for you guys as we move along.
And I'm scanning questions here. Someone asked about encampments along the right of way. That's still a big focus for us. We really want to keep folks safe, and it is more complicated now, and we are working closely with local jurisdictions. And it has slowed our program down, but we're doing our best to move that forward because we want to keep everybody safe. I'm scanning too.
And then I think somebody also asked about the Wi-Fi, and it's roughly at 50% currently. So like Rob mentioned, we should have that completed before the end of the year. And that will obviously provide great service for those of you that are joining us or continuing to ride with us.
And we're not going to Reno. So that was on there. Is, are we going to replace the service that Amtrak is temporarily suspending 3 days or reducing to 3 days a week? And we are going to stick to our current area of service at this point.
I'm not seeing any new questions. I hope I haven't missed anything.
Yeah, I've been looking too.
That's good. Thank you for looking too.
Yeah, I appreciate the interaction. This is great. This is a great way to communicate with you guys.
Yeah, and thank you so much, everybody, for all the positive feedback. I don't know if everybody can see all of the chat messages because I think you can toggle between all panelists or all panelists and attendees. We really appreciate the compliments. And
Leo, do you know that the answer to the question about the service on the weekends, now that BART's running earlier service, are we going to have that train?
We're looking at that currently, Rob. That was something that was on my plate today regarding train 723. So we are going to see if there's an opportunity to do that. So as soon as we know, we can get that communication out.
All right. Lots of comments. Great.
Okay, there's a question that just came in. It may have already been asked, but do you have any updates on the intended extension north towards the airport from Sacramento?
So I do not, that is not part of our expansion plan. I'm not as familiar with that project. We'll have Jim Ellison chat on there. I know he's on he's our planning director.
He is. Jim, if you're able, switch from all panelists to panelists and attendees, or I might be able to bring you on here.
No, he did mention that it's a SAC-RT project.
Okay, SAC-RT project. Okay, there you go. Let's see. So there is another question here about, are we going to support sporting events in the future?
Sure, yeah.
Yes, I mean, we plan to when sporting events return. Right now, my beloved 49ers are not going to be playing for any fans in the stadium. And as we know, the A's are not having fans right now. So we would love nothing more than to bring, sports fans to the events when that is safe to do again. So once that all changes and returns, we'd be happy to bring them back.
Parking is available at the Sacramento station.
What's that, Leo?
There was a question if parking was still available at the Sacramento station, and the answer is yes. And you can do that also contactless if you have the app on your phone.
And then there was another question here I wanted to mention. What is the status with the Davis parking? Is that currently still open to at the Davis station?
Yes, it is open.
Okay.
Yep, and I know prior to the pandemic that was really we were at capacity most days quite early, and I know that's not currently the case. So it's pretty well open right now.
And one thing that we're gonna post online relatively soon is data on our rail boarding, crowd, how crowded I can't get the words out, how crowded our trains are. So riders per train and also on the buses so that you can see that. I mean, we have been fortunate that our ridership has been quite spread out over the trains. So we don't, I think in normal times, trains 523 and 525 and 538 and 542 coming back are super, super crowded, and people try to avoid those. What we've seen in this pattern is that there is really not a train that is a lot more crowded than another train. So if you ride, you'll find that you can very easily sit in your own row with lots of space. That's been my experience. And our trains are, you know, maybe 15 or 20 people on a car for the most part.
Let's see, are there any
Everybody
other
out, no more
questions?
questions.
Will the train crowding levels be shown close to real time? Would they be daily? No. Yeah.
Nope. But our ridership is pretty stable. So if you look at his history of ridership on our trains, we really don't have days that peak unexpectedly. So even though it is historical, it'll be close to historical. It'll give you a very good sense as to which trains are going to be a little more crowded. But right now we're not even close to 50%. Not even getting there at this point. So you're fine at this point, and we're keeping an eye on it. And like Priscilla said, if we get to a point where we're concerned about crowding, we have talked to Amtrak. There is an approach we could use. They are using it on other routes with reservations, but it does add a lot of complexity for our passengers. So we're just going to keep an eye on it and only implement that if necessary.
Okay, there's a question that came in here. I ride from Santa Rosa via bus to Martinez and Sacramento, and this person's visually impaired. Anything I should know as a disabled passenger?
You want to take that, Leah?
Yeah, I can take that.
Bus
Yep.
services.
Yep. So we still do have personnel at the stations, specifically Sacramento. I mean, both stations. So you still do have personnel that can assist you as you're boarding the train, and really the conductor, as he stops in every stop, is also there looking out for anybody that might need extra assistance. So yes, the answer to that is we still do have people there that are able to help you and assist you, and that is also part of the conductor's role.
And I see a question's come in about, does the website have a current schedule for the reduced service? Yes, we do have that available if you go to capitalcore.org. I know that Amtrak.com has not been showing the schedule, so that it's very hard to choose and choose which train you want to use. So we do have that on our website. And there's a question here, can you still buy tickets in station or only online? I believe we are only online or at the Quick Track machines, correct?
No, you can buy them at the stations, but we're not taking. Well, you can buy them at the staff stations,
Okay.
but you cannot pay with cash. You do need a
Got it.
credit card. Yep. But I would say, you know, if you're really trying to stay contactless and you know, the online app, if you don't use the online app, is super easy, and they'll just scan your ticket on the train. And I think most people who use for that find that to be the easiest way to buy a ticket. And it's a very quick, simple way to do it.
And there's a question here about whether or not we might bring back shared 10 rides. I don't think so, but we are sort of evaluating a lot of our ticketing options and looking at some different things. We did shorten the 10 ride to 45 days. So I don't know if you knew that, but we changed it from, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You said it backwards.
I'm sorry. backwards, lengthened it. Went from 30 days to 45 days. So we thought that that might give a little bit more flexibility for people.
I think we actually went from 45 to 60, Priscilla. So we're
Did we?
good. Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason we did that is we were recognizing that we do have some people who go in the office now less, but they're still going in the office or traveling a little bit less. But we wanted people to have more flexibility with that discount program. So that is a change we made after COVID issues. Someone asked about. Did we mention the transit transfers program too? Do we want to maybe give them an update on that program as well that's coming?
We haven't mentioned that today. The transit transfer program, what we're trying to shift towards is doing a show your ticket procedure for everything instead of having the paper transfer. So then you just show your e-ticket or your printout, and then you just keep that with you instead of having to turn it into the connecting bus or anything like that, just to minimize contact. We're still working on a couple of details with some of the other agencies, but we hope to have that finalized soon. The longer term plan is to actually make that digital, a digital transfer, so of some sort. So we will keep you posted. Looks like lots of love for the 60-day extension. Thank you. Hopefully that will work for you. Let's see, anything else? Is there COVID-19 general tracking and tracing information available online, i.e. instance of a passenger, employee, or contractor cases of COVID? Some agencies have this data available without, divulging any privacy issues.
Yeah, we have not implemented that type of program.
And yes, there are machines in the station where you can buy a ticket. There are quick track machines. They're blue. They accept credit cards, so you can use those to buy your ticket if you wish. Let's see. Any chance ticketed passenger areas and platform access for passengers and aids can be put in place? You mean like I'm sorry, Carolyn, if you could be a little bit more detailed, do you mean a separated area for ticketed passengers, both on the platforms and in the stations? I think we have that in place in Oakland, correct? Is that right, Leo?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
To have a separate space for ticketed passengers. And she's asking about platform access for ticketed passengers only, so that, sort of limiting the number of persons who can be at the platforms. If the place is unstaffed, I'm not sure how that could work, but Leo may know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would say that all of our platforms are pretty open. We do, like you said, in Oakland, I believe you're supposed to be with a passenger or a passenger yourself to be in the station. The stations are generally managed by the local community, and they're public facilities. So that's a tricky issue. If you haven't ridden though, I think you'll find that it is not as crowded as when you were last on the train, and you're going to feel like there's a lot of space.
And back to the parking comment about Sacramento Valley, the app is called Park Mobile. I know there was someone asking about that.
Okay, someone's asking about how the paper step-up tickets from Placer Commuter Express would translate to our Show Your Ticket transfer program. We'll have more details on that once we do implement it. We're still working on finalizing some of the details for each agency, so it may not roll out completely for all the agencies, but we're hoping to do it for as many as possible.
And the question about the Hercules station, so that project was, our board did approve that as a candidate station. And so the next step in that is the town of Hercules is working on a funding strategy for that project. I don't know the status of that, but that is a longer term effort by Hercules.
Okay, it looks like questions are sort of slowing down a little bit. So I don't know if
So there's a question on there. I think I'll hit this one because it's a really important question, which is how long does it take us to get back to full service? And I would say that if you if you assume we're going to go back, and we are going to go back to our full 15 round trips on weekdays, my expectation, just we're following, like all of you following the news and trying to understand it, is it's probably going to be a year or so before we're able to do that. But we're going to keep our eyes on the science and the status of the virus and the vaccines, and time that. We do think that you'll have some notice on that. So this is not going to be that kind of thing where I'm going to find out on a Friday and say, hey, Friday, we're next month or next week, we're going to open up. We'll probably know a couple months in advance because we'll need some time, and Amtrak will need time to staff that service when we add it back. But part of why we're being so cautious about our finances is we want to be able to do that when we have the demand. Right now, what we've done is we've spaced out our service throughout the day. We have less service middle of the day, and we end it earlier in the evening. That's been a change in just travel patterns in general. And so we're following that with our service. So I want everybody to know that we fully intend to be back 100% in service, and hopefully the not too distant future. And then Priscilla's going to market the heck out of it and get everybody back on the train. So she's ready to do that again.
And you will all tell your friends.
Exactly.
Let's see. So we have another question here. How will the state budget affect how fast it can happen in terms of bringing the service back?
Yeah, I mean, we have a funding source that we share with the other joint powers authorities in the state. There are two other rail services, one in Los Angeles and the San Joaquin Valley. We're working really, really closely with both of those agencies in the state as we manage our financial resources. The source of our funds is a diesel tax, and that's actually fairly stable, even in tough economic times. It's the issue for us is more the loss of revenue from passenger fares. So as that builds back up, that's going to give us the capacity to add service again.
And then someone's also asking if we could repeat what was said about the Sacramento Valley Station parking, the last comments on that.
Yeah, so I think someone asked if it was open, and it is open. You are able to park there, and then the app that's currently uses the Park Mobile app. That was the other question that was raised about it.
I'm sorry, Leo, your audio cut out a little bit towards the end while you're answering that. If you could repeat yourself, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep, I was saying that the app that is currently being used there is the Park Mobile app.
Okay, so if you didn't catch that, that is the Park Mobile app that is being used at the Sacramento Valley Station. Got a repeat question from someone else about Sacramento Roseville expansion. If we just repeat your update on that for the latecomers.
Yeah, the update on Roseville project is that project is still continuing, and we are at the 25% phase. So we're going to continue to move along and provide you updates as we have them.
Okay, let's see. It looks like some folks are heading out. I hope that we have answered your questions in this virtual event. This is our very first corridor conversation, and we appreciate your all attending and participating and chatting with us. Clearly, there's too many folks to have just a regular Zoom conversation here, but we are definitely going to have another one of these sometime soon, and we'll let you know what the schedule for that will be. Let's see. I think that
And I would like, before we sign off, Priscilla, I do want to hear from people, and if people can just type a little note and tell us, is this a good form? We have our public meetings usually on the train, and we tried Facebook Live, and this is another way for us to engage with our customers. So just if maybe take a second and type what you think, that would be great.
Yeah, and if you think we should do these events more often, it looks like, overwhelming yes, from what I can see here. But if you think we should do these types of events more often, let us know. And we would also, just love to hear from you anyway. Please engage with us on Twitter. We do read everything, on Facebook and all those spaces. And you can reach us on capitalcore.org with the contact us link, and send us messages there too. So we're happy to hear from our passengers very much. So
I'm seeing a lot of yes.
yeah.
Sounds like we'll be doing this again.
I guess so.
All right, we'll do it soon. Any kind of update, we'll definitely be back, but we want to hear from you. And like Priscilla said, there are lots of ways to get in touch, and we do pay attention. And we get some of our best ideas from our customers.
Yeah, and we do miss doing the writer appreciation events. So since we can't do that, we can do this.
Yes.
Again, we hope everybody is staying safe and enjoying time with your families. And please stay connected with us. And hopefully we will see you on the train again soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you again soon.